You're watching Morning Live. Welcome back. Now, reaction to Zimbabwean election results continue well into the weekend, and President Emmerson Mnangagwa won that poll by 50.8% ahead of Nelson Chamisa of the opposition MDC party, who received 44.3% of the vote. And as the Electoral Commission in that country released preliminary results, violence erupted and left 6 people dead. The MDC alleged rigging of the presidential election and declared the results fake. So to take further reaction and analysis on these developments, I'm joined by Professor Charity Manyeruke, who is the Dean of the Faculty of Social Sciences at the University of Zimbabwe. Thanks for coming through this morning, Prof.
Thank you for inviting me.
So let's just jump straight in. As far as the MDC alliance not accepting the results of last week's poll, what does that mean for Zimbabwe right now and going forward?
Not accepting results by MDC alliance, yes, it can happen. The Electoral Act provides for what happens when there is dissatisfaction or when there is a dispute as far as the election results or electoral process is concerned, that you have to take the legal route, and the electoral court is available. But when it is a criminal conduct, then we are looking at the Zimbabwean courts looking at the matter. But what is important in terms of the results are basically the voters themselves, you know, in terms of what they saw happening, what they did, you know, going into the ballot booth to actually vote and choose their leaders, the presidential, the parliamentary, and the local authority leaders. And also, you know, the general atmosphere regarding the elections themselves is also critical when you are looking at the results. And I'm sure you're aware that the election observer missions that were in Zimbabwe generally described using their interim statements, they described the results, you know, of the elections as legitimate, and also in particular that Zimbabweans were able to express their free will in a peaceful environment. On this one, I'm quoting the European Union. Of course, there were reports from SADC, reports from COMESA, reports from the Commonwealth, reports from the African Union, you know, who actually also commended the Zimbabwe Election Commission for their professional conduct, and in particular the training of staff, you know, because they actually also observed the counting of the result of the voting and saying that, you know, it was done in a professional manner.
But they did also raise concerns.
They did raise concerns. You know, like any election, there's no election which is flawless. There are always issues. They talked about, you know, the issue of communications by ZEC, you know, which needs to be improved. They also talked about the issue of public media, you know, that it needs to be balanced. But I think there is a misunderstanding there in terms of those reports. Because when you look at public media, during this time, election period, it is governed by the Elections Act, you know, so there is not much independence in terms of what they do. Reporting must be fair and balanced. But however, I think we need to take into account the fact that the ministers, the president, will still be in office and they have to perform their duties. And these people are from the ruling party, you know, so they have a constitutional mandate to still execute their duties. So there is need for, to separate what is the party and what is the government. Unfortunately, when you are a ruling party, you know, you are in government. So sometimes the observers need to be very objective and say, is this party? Then there's an issue of advertising. You know that political parties are supposed to pay for advertising. And the advertising is also, you know, looked at by the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission, you know, to say, is it containing hate speech, which is not allowed.
I'm trying to understand what you are saying right now, Prof. Are you saying that it is difficult to establish a clear line between party and state when it comes to electioneering?
It is possible, but you need to understand, is this party business or is it government business? Because
surely
remember,
that's easy enough to determine.
Yes, but sometimes people choose not to see it. For example, if there's commissioning of a project, some people will choose to say this is campaigning. Yet you are aware that this government had to perform in 8 months.
So where to here now? You spoke about the electoral court, and then my question around that would have been, should some of these issues not have been resolved before the result was actually declared?
It depends when are they raised and where they are raised. For example, you are aware that the MDC Alliance took their issues to the streets, to demonstrate, to burn cars, to stone people. That was the form of showing, that they are not satisfied with the results, which is contrary to what is provided for in the law. That, if you are not satisfied with the results, there's an appeal process, which is the electoral court. And then, of course, if it's a criminal issue, it's the Zimbabwean courts. So there are issues, yes, which came up during the electoral process itself. For example, issues to do with the ballot paper, where MDC Alliance was contesting about, the position of Mnangagwa, who in actual fact is number 15 on the ballot, was in number 15 on the ballot paper, and Chamisa was number 2, but they were placed in alphabetical order, and it was not by choice. But it depends with your surname. But I think that issue must be looked at objectively and say that, for any candidate, imagine candidate number 7, imagine candidate number 13, they would all have wanted to be number 1, but because of surnames. And also, I'm sure even Mnangagwa would have wanted to be on the left side, not the right side, because some people may choose not to see people on the right side. But that's where campaign messages really come in to say, what are your messages?
Interesting.
Yes.
Very interesting, and no doubt there will be many more discussions around this. Well, thanks so much to Professor Charity Manyeruke, who is the Dean of Social Studies at the University of Zimbabwe. And with that, we go now to a full news bulletin.